This program is brought to you by Rogers Xfinity, connecting you to more of what you love. Visit Rogers.com for more details. The opinions expressed in the following programs are those of the participants and do not necessarily reflect those of Rogers Cable or Rogers TV.
Welcome back to Uxbridge Scugog Life. I'm your host, Olivia Flanagan, and thanks for tuning in to this week's episode. Happy summer vacation. I am so excited that the warm weather in summer is finally here, and we here at Rogers TV Durham are wishing you a fun and restful and enjoyable summer vacation. We hope the kids are having a great summer off from school. There's so many events happening over the summer. I think Rib Fests are the perfect way to celebrate summer vacation with food and drinks and live music. They are just the best. There's so many happening in all municipalities across Durham. There's also lots of Canada Day festivals and other festivals. So, of course, if you're trying to check out any of these events happening in the Durham region or your city, make sure to check out your community calendars, or Durham Tourism always has lots of different events and everything happening, or just look up Eventbrite. There are so many different ways, Facebook, to find out events happening in the Durham region for you and the whole family to enjoy. On today's episode, we are highlighting everything about summer, from pools and keeping your pets safe, and also just dealing with mental health and uncertain times. So on today's episode, we have first Alec from CMHA Durham talking about kind of uncertain times over the last few years, from economic and political and all different things, just a lot of instability. So we are talking about how to keep your mental health good and tips for kind of keeping yourself not to worry about those things. And then we have Theo and Jessica from the Uxbridge Animal Shelter. They are talking about what to do if you've lost your pet. Of course, with summer, people are outside more. You might have left your gate open, your door open, or the window went through. They are going to talk about everything, how to keep your pet safe during the summer. And then we are taking it back to an episode from May, an interview with Carolyn from the Township of Uxbridge. She's the aquatic manager, talking about everything pool safety. Of course, people probably have their pools up now. So how to keep safe in the summer. Again, I'm Olivia Flanagan, and thanks for tuning in to this week's episode of Uxbridge Scugog Life.
Are you the type who would keep going or stop? It's not easy to stop when you have an addiction. Legalizing cannabis won't stop addiction. It trivializes its consumption. Let's be vigilant. If you need help, visit portage.ca.
Welcome back to Uxbridge Scugog Life. I'm your host, Olivia Flanagan, and for this segment, we are joined with Alec from CMHA Durham. Alec, thanks for being here today.
Thank you for having us on.
So recently, the world has kind of been an unusual place with economic instability and unprecedented times, as we've kind of experienced over now in the last few years. So, and those can have effects on people's mental health, for sure.
I'm sorry, go ahead, yeah.
Yeah, and so how can these uncertain times kind of affect people's mental health?
Well, absolutely. I mean, when you're thinking about uncertainty, it can really have kind of a stressful response in people. There's a certain amount of kind of like expecting surprises and things like that that can be exciting and different. But when it gets to a point where it becomes really kind of all-consuming and it can kind of overwhelm what you're thinking about other things, then it can lead to a lot of stress and a lot of anxiety.
For sure. And so what are kind of some of those emotions that uncertain times can affect people with?
Yep. So when you're feeling uncertain, when you're not sure what's coming for you, it's anxiety. Anxiety is a big thing for people. We're seeing that 42% of Canadians are already reporting that they have an elevated level of anxiety. And that means that they're feeling much more anxious than they have in the past. And that's really just, well, you know, like we're kind of starting off what is soon to be a probably very exciting kind of time for Canada as we move forward. So that anxiety can be things that are very specific to them, things that are very individual kind of things that are affecting them directly, or maybe larger scale things that are just seeing like things affecting, you know, the country as a whole or the world as a whole.
And I think depression also is not limited in this situation. Like
absolutely.
the anxiety, if it's kind of consuming you, that could totally lead to like a kind of depressive state.
Yeah, when you don't know what's going on and you don't feel like you have any control over it, that can be very, very depressing and can bring you down very quickly.
For sure. So what can kind of individuals and communities do to cope with these uncertainties?
Well, the great thing as a community is when you're looking at uncertainty around, politics or finances and things like that, is kind of turning to your community. Looking for ways that you can find groups of people who want to work together or other people who kind of share your same kind of viewpoint on that. It gives you a feeling of community and connection, and it feels that you're doing something supportive. Because sometimes when we just hear the news and we just kind of let it wash over us, it's deeply overwhelming and you feel hopeless and like there's nothing you can do about it. By talking with other people who share the same kind of perspective, you can find a common goal that you're all working towards and feel that you're making a productive difference.
Yeah, and I feel like social media is a great way to connect with people that are maybe feeling the same emotions or sharing similar experiences with you, but social media and the news and everything can also have a super negative impact when it comes to uncertain times because like constantly you're just seeing Instagram posts or Facebook posts or TikTok posts about all these things.
Yeah.
And so I feel like a big thing is limiting your social media usage or even just the news. Watching on TV, change the channel if it's causing you like extreme emotions.
Absolutely. There's all kinds of tools that you can use to reduce your intake of social media or of news as well. So for social media, there's all kinds of apps you can use. A big one I use is called Opal. And the idea is that it looks at the amount of time you spend on different things and can kind of monitor it. And then when you get to a certain point, it gives you a reminder to let you know you have been doing this for so long. So it keeps you from going down that well where you try and scroll to the bottom of the internet kind of thing.
That's cool, yeah.
Yeah, and also kind of regulating what you follow, because a lot of the time we follow something we think is going to be interesting, but after a while we find that it just gives us negative feelings or overwhelms and stresses us out. And taking yourself out of that is a huge way to make sure that you're actually enjoying what you get from social media, that it's actually making you feel good and providing you with information that you like and want to hear, and keeping you from feeling negative feelings and making you feel, stressed and anxious.
Yeah, and that Opal app, I think, on the iPhone, you can even put screen time limits, and then you have to especially for kids too, you have to put in a passcode to bypass it and stuff. So there is a lot of tools out there, and I think during COVID, that was a big thing.
Absolutely.
Me and my family, I know sometimes we had to especially when it was growing and all the uncertainty about the pandemic in 2020 when it first started, my family was like, okay, we need to stop reading everything and just well, you're not going away tonight, so just we can deal with it tomorrow.
Exactly. Well, you talk about tools on your phone and things like that, that you can use. Us having news notifications is one of those things that seems like a great idea, but most of the time when you get a news notification, it's not something that's really important or valuable. It's not going to have an immediate effect on your life or change how you live your day. It's there to get your attention and make you turn on your phone. So turning that app off or turning that function off on your phone is just a massive opportunity to get more time back in your life.
Yeah. So now kind of going back to the community conversation, how can we kind of advocate for better mental health support in our communities?
Absolutely. So we've just had an election. We've just had new MPs brought in. This is a wonderful time to kind of remind your local representative that mental health is an important thing for you, that you want to see it funded properly, and that you want to see the stigma around it reduced so that people feel comfortable talking about it. And the best way to do that is to be that advocate, be the person who people talk to about mental health, and be the person who speaks with their friends and family about mental health and honestly asks people about it. If people are looking for tools on how to share with their MPs or what to say, you can please connect with CMHA Durham, and we'd be more than happy to give you all the tools and information you would need to kind of start that conversation.
Yeah, and so what are some kind of practical strategies for managing stress and anxiety related to uncertainty? I
have a great one that I wanted to talk about called worry postponement.
Okay.
So the idea behind worry postponement is we're inundated with all this information, and a lot of the time it provokes an immediate response in you. But it's taking a moment to stop and think, does this require an immediate reaction? So you have that response, and then you go, do I need to deal with this right now? So you see on the news that there is a new threat of raised tariffs, or the American government has once again threatened to annex our country, right? Is this a thing that you need to deal with immediately? In all likelihood, it's probably not, right? Now, if it is something that requires an immediate response, then of course that would be something you deal with. But if not, then take a moment, ground yourself, and realize that this isn't an immediate need, and then schedule some time in your day and keep it that time every day where you stop and think about these things that are causing this kind of massive reaction in you. I really love journaling as a way to kind of get that information out. You write down your feelings about how it made you feel, what you need to do about it or what you can do about it, and then you have, you know, your reaction to it and a plan of what you can do to actually make yourself feel better about it and hopefully keep from having that same reaction again in the future.
Those are some awesome tips. I think journaling is the best.
It's
like,
great.
I did it as a kid when too many thoughts. Journaling is the best. So you kind of talked about those tips, but to quickly end off, what kind of supports can CMHA Durham provide?
Well, fantastic. I mean, everyone deals with stress and anxiety.
Yep.
And it is a massive kind of issue for people to deal with. And I don't think people should feel like they need to deal with it alone. We always walk into the situation where we think if we can't handle it, then, we're not going to burden other people with it. But we're here to provide people with support and tools and someone to speak to about it. So if you're stressed or you're anxious and you're feeling like it's having an impact on your life and you want to do something to change that, we want people to reach out to CMHA Durham. You can chat with the case manager right away who will help you look at goals and opportunities to kind of help fix these issues, help you feel better and more comfortable, and help you look at these emotions and find positive ways to deal with them.
Awesome. Well, Alec, thank you so much for joining me today and talking about uncertain times.
Thank you.
And if you need any support or anything during these uncertain times that seem to be happening constantly nowadays, please reach out to CMHA Durham.
Great.
Thanks for joining me today, and we'll see you after the break.
Hello, I'm Jonathan Van Bilsen. My next guest is Rosario Greco, a recent judge in the International Hairstyling Competition in Paris. We'll get the entire story behind the person right here on Rogers TV.
Welcome back to Uxbridge Scugog Life, and for this segment I am joined with Theo and Jessica from the Uxbridge Scugog Animal Shelter. Thanks for joining me today.
Thanks for having us.
So with the warm weather here and kind of people, all the babies coming and everything, and people are outside more, maybe they're leaving their doors open and the animals, their pets kind of get out. What is the process for you guys either finding an animal or a missing animal?
Definitely. So there is a lot of miscommunication around animal control and what we do. It's not like the scary dog catcher mentality anymore.
Yeah.
So if you are missing an animal or if you find an animal, it's really important that people call us at the animal shelter. We have lost listings that we can go through, and our main goal is to find the animal's owner. And we can't do that if people don't call us and let us know they've either lost or found an animal.
For sure.
So first things first, call us. We can have a conversation. We can go through our lost listings. We can scan animals for microchips, and we also have dog license records that we can go through. So all of that helps us get them back home, and that's our main goal. That is also an important point, licensing your dogs. So we use those all the time to get dogs back home. And sometimes the dogs don't even have to come into the shelter. It's just a tag. We can call the owner, they can get them right back home. But if we can't reunite the animal with the owner right away, they'll come into our shelter and we hold them for a stray hold. So throughout that, we're posting pictures on our Facebook, we're using different social media outlets, and we're trying to find the owners.
Yep. If
they don't come forward or we can't make contact, then we'll look at getting their vet work updated. So we have lots of relationships with local veterinary clinics.
Yep.
We'll get their vaccines, deworming, all the routine stuff, spay or neuter done, and we'll move them into adoption. After that, people can apply, and then we'll find the best suited home for them. So it's really a streamlined process. Theo helps us quite a bit in terms of taking care of them through that. Do you want to talk a little bit about how you socialize and things?
Yeah, so every day when I come in, first thing in the morning, check on all the cats. You gotta change out their litter, change out their bedding, clean their kennels, give them food, medication if they need any, and yeah, just spend time with them. Some of the cats, like we have right now, her name is Bear. Love her with all my heart, but she did not really like people when she came in. So socializing with her for a little bit was just sitting there and allowing her to get used to my presence until, eventually she would let me put my hand near her, and now we're at the point where I can pet her, I can play with her, and yeah.
That sounds like the best summer student job, because you're the new summer student for the shelter.
Yeah.
Just getting to hang out with cats and dogs all day, that sounds like the best job ever. How is it? How are you liking it?
I love it so much, and I gotta say, out of all the places I've worked in the past, this place I mean, not only does it have cats and dogs and sometimes rabbits, and I love working with animals, I gotta say the overall work environment has been amazing. Like, Jess and the rest of the girls have been so kind to me, and sometimes I ask questions that might be a little dumb, but they're more than happy to answer any questions I have.
That's amazing. So that's kind of the process if anyone's kind of finding an animal or lost animal over the summer. Perfect. So kind of going into how warm weather can affect animals. So what are some of the biggest dangers for pets that people kind of overlook in the warm weather?
Yeah, I'll speak a little bit from the animal control perspective on that.
Okay.
So kids are home, kids are in their sports, busy time for families. We are finding that doors are being left open, gates are being left open, and the animals are sneaking out. So definitely just doing a double check of those spaces where you let your dogs out specifically, making sure that they can't get out. Now, sometimes with the storms as well, like it gets windy, things can blow open, doors can blow open, so just doing a double check after that sort of thing, that's a lot that we're seeing. On the other side of things, when you take your pets out, definitely make sure they're leashed. We don't know the wild animals that are in the area, especially moms are protective of their babies. So if you're walking your dog off leash, not only is it against the bylaw, not allowed in Uxbridge and Scugog, but you could have some unexpected encounters. We don't want that.
No, definitely don't. So now, in Canada, we only have a very short time. We can kind of get our dogs out for walks and not have to like bundle up. So obviously taking your dog and having them leashed is fun to do, but what are some kind of precautions that people should take when taking their dog for a walk?
Definitely. So you know your animal best, so definitely it's geared toward each specific dog. If they don't get along with dogs, maybe avoid areas with more people, more dogs, that sort of thing. But aside from that, definitely talking to your vet about different precautions medically that could be taken. So fleas and ticks, they're definitely out in the area, and keeping them on prevention for that is really important. There's different types that you can use, and each is specific to the specific animal.
Awesome. So now maybe kind of going more into like the ticks and fleas, what should pet owners know about precautions about those?
Yeah, definitely. So at the shelter, before animals are adopted, we do use flea and tick prevention on our animals. There's different kinds that you can use, so we speak to our vet, like I said, about the specific kinds that would be best for that animal. Some vets recommend keeping them on it year-round, so the warmer weather, it definitely brings them out more often, fleas and ticks, but with it being so fluctuating, sometimes they're out even in like October, November. So talking about possible year-round prevention versus just in the spring, summer months could be an option.
Yeah. So how can the community kind of help shelters manage summer difficulties or just extra work in the summer maybe?
We do have a volunteer program. So we have one volunteer that comes in each day. We've asked our volunteers to commit to a specific day. Now that program is quite full at the moment, but we are always accepting applications. So if you're interested in volunteering, our volunteers do more work with the cats as opposed to dogs. But you can contact us for an application for that. We're still keeping them on file, and then as we have opportunities open up, we're going to go through those applications. So that's an opportunity. We are also always accepting donations. So we have a lot of dogs in the shelter right now, and they go through toys, treats, that sort of thing quite quickly. So off the top of my head, we use a lot of dog poop bags, training treats, heavy-duty dog toys. The stuffies are great. They have fun with them, but they rip them up so quickly. So anything heavy-duty is great for our dogs.
Awesome. And then I know we didn't really talk about this before, but I remember you also have your calendar campaign going on. How over the summer is that getting put together to purchase in the fall? I think that's what was talked about before.
Definitely. So a quick recap. The calendar campaign, people pay to submit photos of their pets. It's $10 for each photo submission, and then they can also pay $15 to purchase a calendar. It's a 2026 calendar, and all of the proceeds from that are going towards our vet fees for our animals. So right now we are getting our photos in. It's steady. The application process is quite steady with those pictures coming in. We have different outlets throughout Uxbridge and Scugog that are accepting them, and also online. If you go to uxbridge.ca, there's a big banner that's Super Pet Calendar. You can click that to enter your pets. So our behind the scenes team is working on getting that calendar put together with everything that we're getting submitted, and it'll be ready for purchase probably October.
So exciting.
Yeah.
Okay, well, Theo and Jessica, thank you so much for joining me today, and we'll see you after the break. Welcome back to Uxbridge Scugog Life. I'm your host, Olivia Flanagan, and for this segment, we are taking it back to an interview from May with Carolyn, who's the aquatic manager at the Township of Uxbridge. Well, we kind of talked about the opening of pool season, and pool safety and water safety is always important to make sure kids and family and adults, anyone really, is being safe in the water. So she's going to talk about life jackets and taking breaks in the pool and so much more. So make sure you stay tuned for Carolyn from Township of Uxbridge. Welcome back to Uxbridge Scugog Life. I'm your host, Olivia Flanagan, and I am joined with Carolyn from the Township of Uxbridge. You are the aquatic manager, and you're here today to talk about pool safety.
Yes, for backyard pools.
Yes.
Pools are opening.
Yes, Victoria Day weekend, kickoff to summer, weather's getting warmer, people are putting their pools up. I know my family, we've taken out all our patio furniture. We have just like a little above ground pool that we put up every year for fun.
It is.
People are doing that too.
It is. It's the time of year. Pool companies are very busy.
Yeah.
But there's some things that we need to be aware of.
For sure.
Definitely some backyard pool safety.
Yes.
Just so that you know, 11% of drownings in Ontario last year were in backyard pools.
Wow.
They tend to be unsupervised
Yeah.
or not supervised well enough.
Right.
So there's some ways that you can protect yourself.
For sure. So do you want to kind of talk about some tips and tricks that parents and viewers should kind of think about if they have their young ones swimming in a pool?
Definitely. One thing, designate a watcher.
Yeah.
So this is the water watcher. Give them a whistle so that they can blow the whistle if there's an emergency and everybody will know. This person is not drinking alcohol.
Yeah.
This person is not sitting on their phone like this.
Yeah.
You can't watch a pool when you're watching your phone.
For sure.
So you want all of your attention on the pool area.
Yeah.
Eliminate the distractions. You're not
Yeah.
going in while the kids are in the pool. You're not going into the house to grab that drink.
Yeah.
So that's a big one.
For sure. I remember as a kid, every time my mom had to go inside, she'd be like, okay, everyone get out. I have to go in. It's important because like it can happen in a split second, right?
It does happen, and it only takes a split second,
Yeah.
and it happens, especially with younger kids.
For sure.
Another thing, life jackets and PFDs are cool. And they are so many different colors now and so many different styles depending on what you're doing.
Yeah.
But put the kids in a life jacket or a PFD.
For sure. It
And
saves your life, right?
it does. It'll keep them up and keep them breathing. Know what drowning looks like. When I say somebody's drowning, what do you think of? Do you think of the Hollywood version
Probably.
where everybody's like
Yeah.
screaming, "I'm help, help, help"?
Yeah.
A drowning person doesn't look like that. They might be using their hands trying to get up,
Yeah.
but they can't talk. They're so busy trying to breathe
Right.
that they can't do that. And their eyes will be like bugged out because they're very afraid.
Mm-hmm.
So make sure you know what drowning really looks like.
Yeah.
It's not that active. It's very quiet.
Yeah. For sure. And kind of moving on to your next tip, not to jump into it, but just like knowing what the signs look like, but then also being able to kind of save someone's life in that situation.
First aid and CPR courses, they're all over the place.
Yeah.
Find one, take one. We do offer them at the pool. Inquire. Sometimes they're not always scheduled, but we can schedule one if you have 6 people in a group that
Yeah.
want to come to the pool. We can teach you on first aid and CPR. Very important skills
For sure.
for anybody, not just backyard pool safety, but for anybody.
You never know when you're going to need it.
You never do.
You never know.
And you were always taught as a kid, swim with a buddy.
Yeah. Never swim alone.
Never swim alone, and that goes for any age. The highest percentage of drownings are actually in the 65 plus. And they're going into their pools and they're swimming alone.
Interesting.
Yeah, because they're like, I can swim. It's adults. I can swim. I don't need to worry about having a buddy or letting somebody know that I'm in the pool. Those are very important things.
For sure.
And take designated breaks. We were talking about this a little bit before. So your mom would drag you out of the pool and say, hey, it's time to have a snack.
Yeah.
Did you have that 20-minute rule where you couldn't go back in the pool because you were afraid you would have a tummy ache? Did you have that? Some people did. Guess what? That break was not for your tummy. It was for the parent so that they could have a rest, because it's tiring watching the pool all the time.
For sure. And another tip, I see this graphic come up on like my Facebook and social media all the time of different swimsuit colors over top of waters and lakes. So there's also different colors that are recommended for young ones especially to wear in the water.
So bright colors, the bright yellows, the reds, the oranges, the purples. Stay away from blue or black. When I was teaching swimming as a teenager, I taught waterfront. And one of the parents always dressed her daughter in these really vibrant colors. Bathing suit was gorgeous, but it was vibrant. And I once said to her, why do you always have her in such vibrant colors? And she actually pointed to the water and she said, you see that child there? The child was doing a handstand in the water. She said, I know it's mine because of the bright colors. I can always find her in the water.
Yeah. So stay away from the blues, like, because in that little graphic it has all like the colors on top of water. Stay away from the blues. Bright colors are the safest, right?
Yep.
For
they
sure.
Definitely are.
And that's why they make the life jackets neon orange, neon yellow, and all those bright colors so you can see them.
Yes, definitely. So they do have them, and it is legal now to wear the different colors, but the bright colors are easier. If you've ever been water skiing and you fall in, you can pick that person out.
Yeah.
It's kind of away from backyard pools, but it's still important. Make sure you have some safety equipment around your pool too.
For sure.
Definitely important. Reaching pole, pool noodles, they're great. Try and stay away from anything that you have to inflate, because what happens is they get a tiny hole and it slowly decreases, and then you have somebody that you think is a good swimmer and it floats and just comes in because the air's all gone out and they can't swim and they drown.
For sure. So with the warm weather on the way and coming up, these are some awesome tips to stay safe in your backyard pool. Carolyn, thank you for joining me today. Once again, we are wishing everyone a very happy summer vacation. We hope you're making the best of the weather. And once again, I'm your host, Olivia Flanagan, and thanks for tuning in to this week's episode of Uxbridge Scugog Life on Rogers TV. We'll see you next time.
Connect with us by visiting our website or email us at comments@rogerstv.com.